Namaste to one and all. I welcome you all for this circle meeting on new foreign trade policy and recent GST notification and Amnesty scheme. To dwell upon this subject, we have CA Sowmya madam. Can I request CA Manoj Kumar sir to escort the speaker onto dais and then welcome her with the floral bouquet. Thank you, sir. I have privilege in introducing today's speaker, Ms. Sowmya. Sowmya is a chartered accountant in practice with over 10 years of experience in the field of indirect taxes, SEZs and STPs, foreign trade policy. Her professional background includes handling of indirect tax litigation, providing transaction advisory and consulting services for manufacturing and service sectors, and offering legal opinions on tax matters. She is actively involved in handling departmental tasks, including appeals and show cause notices, as a consultant at GST and Co. She has shared her insights through numerous seminars and webinars conducted for industry professionals and practitioners in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. In recognition of her understanding of tax matters and to help fellow professionals, she has published several articles in professional journals and is a regular contributor to tax platforms such as Tax Management India and other prominent websites. With this brief introduction, I present before you CA Sowmya madam. Over to you, ma'am.
Good evening all. I thank Bangalore branch of ICA for providing me this opportunity to present before you the new foreign trade policy as well as the amnesty schemes and the recent GST notifications. Let's get started. So before we start the technical session, I thought I'll give a few thoughts for today. This is a famous quote by Abraham Lincoln. He says, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe." This may be, Abraham Lincoln was a woodcutter and he became the president of the United States. So for us, it's more relevant to our profession in these days. We get so busy with and bogged down with our work. We don't look back and see what we are doing day in and day out, whether it can be done in a better way. What we are doing to take care of our health, our family. So we need to step back every day and see that if we are doing the right thing, and we have to spend more time in doing those things rather than just getting into the work. So don't get so busy that you don't take time to sharpen your axe. That is more important than the execution itself. So with this few thoughts, I'll just proceed to the agenda for today. India having completed 75 years of independence, and we are on the progress path. Our GDP growth was around 7 to 8% last year, and it's projected to be around 6.5% next year. And we already know the geopolitical situation in what is going around and the COVID pandemic that hit us. In spite of that, we are on a very good path. We have moved from $435 billion exports to $760 billion in 2022, which itself indicates how we are going on a progressive growth. And we have a target of $2 trillion to be achieved by FY 2030, and that is the main target in the foreign trade policy, and all the policy and everything is designed based on this target of $2 trillion by 2030. So the agenda for today is the main foreign trade policy, latest GST notifications, amnesty scheme both under GST GST and under the foreign trade policy. So as I said, the main aim of the foreign trade policy is to achieve the $2 trillion export by 2030. With that in mind, the four main legs of the policy is that we are moving from an incentive-based regime to a remission-based regime. That is, we are part of the WTO, that is the World Trade Organization, and as per the WTO norms, we are not supposed to give incentives to promote our exports. So rather, taxes are not exported, and therefore remission of the taxes suffered by the exporter is given as a remission in this policy. Export promotion through collaboration between exporters, states, districts, Indian missions. So it's a more collaborative effort. Lot of states and center will work together in making sure that all the hiccups in exports are addressed at a very short period, and our products become competitive in the global market. Ease of doing business, reduction in transaction cost, technology interface is another area, and emerging areas like e-commerce, development of export hubs, merchant export, streamlining the SCOMET policy is all the four legs based on which the foreign trade policy is built. So the main highlights are this policy is completely against incentives. No incentives are given whatsoever, and it's moved to a remission of taxes based regime. And as I reiterate, I am reiterating the earlier thing that 2 trillion target by 2030 is what we are targeting, comprising of both goods and services. And SCOMET policy, we have a separate chapter for SCOMET policy, special category items. SCOMET items are those special category goods which are used for both civil as well as military purpose. So earlier there was a lot of confusion on what approvals to be taken. For example, these days it's an age of drones. So drones are used for both military as well as civil use. So there is a separate policy chapter itself to address these questions. And we have separate town of excellence, and we also have the Amnesty scheme as main highlights of this. So when the Commerce Minister unveiled this new policy, he said it is based on the 5 Ds. So the duration of the policy, the dynamism, the direction, the decentralized approach, and the disaster proof with rupee trade. These are the 5 Ds which he said based on which this policy. So the duration is, there is no sunset clause to this FTP. It is going to be completely, only a change is on CIP basis, which is whenever there is a requirement, they are going to change as and when there is a need from the trade. Dynamic policy amended to as and when requirement from trade basis. So whenever there is a requirement or representation, there will be a change. Unless and otherwise, the same policy is going to continue forever. Direction is towards a $2 trillion export growth with merchandise as well as service growth. A decentralized approach where I told you that district and the state and the center will all work in tandem to build this and achieve this export growth in our country. Disaster proof with rupee trade is they are supporting rupee trade. Even you can receive your export realization in Indian rupees. But through a pass-through account, there are some RBI guidelines which need to be followed. But this is also in the pipeline, and they are going to make that you can receive realization in rupees also for those countries which are not having sufficient dollar reserve. So the foreign trade policy came into effect from 1st April 2023. All exports completed till 31st March 2023 will be covered by the previous policy. So all new applications made for any schemes will from 1st of April will be under this policy. Whatever schemes and things done prior to 31st March will be under the old policy, and the old rules only will prevail for those. So they are very clear on this so that there is no confusion whether I have a EPCG under the old policy, whether I will be governed by the new policy or old policy. Such things you don't have to worry. It depends on given to you. The foreign trade policy have a perpetual validity and shall be updated on need basis based on the feedback from industry. So now everything is online. It's on the DGFT portal called dgft.gov.in. It's a one-stop shop for all application, making completely all processes paperless. So it's part of the digitization program of the government, where they have made everything paperless and all applications are online. But there are still some manual things that are going on for the that has been done in the previous years, because digitization started somewhere in 2019 and most of it is online now. However, there are certain things which are still done offline. Along as part of the new policy, there is a national committee on trade facilitation, because we have a huge target of export in hand and we need to make sure all our systems are so robust that there is no delay and our products and services are highly competitive in the global market. So we need to work a lot in order to achieve this. So they have made some committees and arrangements so that this can be achieved and possible. A single window system is introduced to expedite export of perishable agricultural produce through APIDA. So they are tying up with the Commerce Ministry is tying up with various agencies like the APIDA and those who are actually involved in that product, so that any hiccups can be addressed on a war footing basis and there is no wastage, because these agricultural produces are very perishable and the exporter could suffer huge loss unless there is an immediate intervention by some agency. Niryat Bandhu hand-holding scheme for new entrepreneurs, exporters, through implementing training, counseling, outreach programs is also planned. So all that will be rolled out over a period of time. And a new common portal is being developed for certificate of origin, because certificate of origin, as you know, is based on where the goods are manufactured. Supposing you cannot import any goods from China, bring it to India and then say it's a goods from India. That is not possible. That's called round tipping. So in order to avoid that, we need to give something called as a certificate of origin, that these goods have been manufactured in India only. So for that, there is a you can do it by yourself on the common portal, which is developed. And dealing with quality control and trade disputes also, there is this new website of DGFT. Duty-free entitlements were provided to handloom, handicraft, leather and footwear have been withdrawn in the new policy. And however, they are just simply available now for marine sector, sports goods and toy sector alone. And as you might have been seeing in the news that Piyush Goyal, Commerce Minister, is traveling a lot and meeting up with other finance ministers, commerce ministers in other countries. So far we have been able to sign 13 free trade agreements and 6 limited preferential trade agreements for duty benefits, for mutual recognition of export-import trade with these countries. With this, there is a lot of substantial savings on our imports and exports where we have mutual recognition with these countries. So before we import any goods, we need to go through these free trade agreements on what is beneficial, and we can make use of these agreements. And district export promotion committee is at district level is sought to be created for supporting export promotion and addressing bottlenecks. Each state and district will have export promotion committee. Like for instance, in Bangalore we have the Vishwesvaraya Trade Promotion Committee, where they address, they do a lot of training programs, outreach programs. They go to the very remote areas, villages in Karnataka, and they find out what they are very good at, and they explain to them how exports can be done and their products can be exported to foreign countries. And such things are done only in major cities like Bangalore. Now they are planning at every district across the length and breadth of our country, because we do have specialized GI products spread across India. For instance, Mysore silk is famous in Mysore, but I don't think it is being exported to a foreign country in a very professional level. So, but we need, as the government is taking this initiative through the foreign trade policy, so that such goods also come out in the international market and they get the recognition for the heritage that it carries with it. 4 new towns of export excellence have been further identified in this policy. Faridabad for apparel, Moradabad for handicrafts, Mirzapur for handmade carpet and dari, Varanasi for handloom. Already 39 towns of export of excellence have been identified. So these towns have been given recognition and brand credibility. A lot of programs are done for market access initiatives, wherein they get to have a global presence. They are made to attend exhibitions in foreign countries where they display their products, and in such manner these towns also become export towns of excellence. So they are actually given a legal recognition in the policy and they are found as key. So many schemes and benefits are given to these towns of excellence so that they also develop and they become internationally competitive. Status holder scheme is one of the oldest schemes where based on the export performance you are given status holder status, so such as 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, etc. So the threshold for status holder has been brought down so that more and more exporters get these certifications done, because there are a whole lot of benefits that come with these status holders certifications. But now the new condition is that every year export performance is necessary for the immediate 3 preceding years. Earlier it was only 2 out of 3. Now it is the new condition that every year there should be export performance. And whoever have taken status certificate in the previous policy, 15-20 will be valid only till 30th September, after which they have to apply fresh under the new policy and obtain license. And double weightage for exports is given for MSME and already 1-star exporter and units with ISO certification, units in northeastern states, and exporter of fruits and vegetables, covering under chapter 7 and 8 of ITC HS. So these are the amendments that have been done to the status holder scheme. So basically what they have done is they have retained the old scheme, but they have made few changes and brought trade facilitation as a major change in this scheme, and they have made many steps to boost manufacturing. The PM Mitra scheme, for example, for apparel part has been added to claim benefits under CSP scheme for EPCG. So when I say CSP for scheme for EPCG, it means supposing there is an apparel part where lot of manufacturers are manufacturing and exporting apparels, cloth, textile. So there may be some common service provider who is supposing producing and doing some job work for all these apparel manufacturers inside the part. So they are given the benefit of importing goods under EPCG even for this common service provider who may not be actually exporting. He may be exporting only through these exporters who are in the part. So he is a deemed exporter. But even then he can avail this EPCG scheme. And average obligation, export obligation for EPCG has been done away with for dairy sector. And it's also the same benefit is reduced export obligation for battery electric vehicles, vehicle farming equipment, water wastewater treatment, rainwater harvesting system. So all these services and products are being added to the green technology products. So lot of incentives and schemes are given for green technology. So these items have been added additionally in this policy. So these manufacturers of these goods can take additional advantage of these schemes. Special advance authorization extended for apparel and clothing sector to facilitate prompt execution of export product. Benefit of self-ratification is also allowed for apparel manufacturers and status holders, but they need to get the norms done by within 90 days. Merchant trading is another one aspect where our foreign trade policy is given more importance. Merchant trading is something like I am sitting in India, I find a buyer in USA and I find a seller for the same product in China or say Singapore. So what I do sitting in India is I buy the goods from the Singapore seller and sell it to the requirement in USA, but the goods never enter India. It is directly supplied between Singapore and US. So such transactions are called merchant trading transactions. There is no movement of goods into and outside India at all. So government is very much keen on promoting such transactions where there is no movement of goods and it's only paperwork transaction, and they want to boost these transactions. A separate chapter is included in foreign trade policy to address these issues. And however, the transaction has to be in compliance with the RBI and FEMA regulation, wherein payments has to be in foreign currency, and you have to make the payment to the other supplier. So such things have to be dealt with as per RBI guidelines. And major provision changes under EPCG has been that validity period for importing capital goods has been increased to 24 months from the present 18 months. Common service provider, as I told you, for Town of Export Excellence or PM Mitra have been added in the new EPCG scheme. Exports to DTA alone shall be considered for fulfillment of EO and not from other units who may be EOU or SEZs. Average export obligation has been waived off for, as I told you, dairy and handloom, handicraft, etc. Post-export EPCG duty scrip has been discontinued. There was a scheme where you could get goods under EPCG post-exporting, so that you will not have to fulfill the export obligation after importing. It is after exporting you are importing the capital goods, so such scheme has been discontinued. The validity period of invalidation letter and ARO will be co-terminus with EPCG in case you procure the goods locally instead of importing the goods from a foreign country. In case you import goods under EPCG from a local vendor, then you need to obtain something called as a invalidation letter or and a ARO, advance release order. So that will be co-terminus with the EPCG period itself. This is all with EPCG. EOU major provisions are that when you are a DTA and you have a EPCG and you want to become a EOU unit, earlier they used to transfer the obligation from EPCG to EOU. So such thing is not allowed anymore. Either you complete the entire export obligation as a EPCG holder and go clean into EOU, or you pay the entire duty under the EPCG license and then move to EOU. So there is no conversion from EPCG to EOU that is allowed under the new policy. Goods supplied by one unit to another unit of EOU will be treated as import when there is a DTA sale by the second EOU unit. So that whenever there is a sale from a EOU to a DTA, all the import duties that has been suffered on the goods have to be paid back for sure. Only DGFT can issue IEC for EOU units and even status holder certificate. Earlier there used to be a confusion. The people used to apply to the development commissioner of the SEZ EOU and they used to tell you need to approach the DGFT. So they brought the change in the policy itself. So now it is clear that either IEC or status holder certificate have to be applied to the jurisdictional regional authority of the DGFT. Bank guarantee is not required for EOU unit if you are already an AEO, that is you are an authorized economic operator. That is a separate license that is given under customs, and there have been no show cause notices issued for any other than for procedural violations, and there have been no penal provisions under the Foreign Trade Regulation Act. So this is bank guarantee is usually given for a new EOU unit who do not have any history of export. So this is waived off if you are a AEO. Deemed exports are those exports for which we realize when the goods do not leave the country and it is supplied to say an EOU or an advance authorization holder or a EPCG holder or another EOU unit, and the realization can be in Indian rupees or in free foreign exchange. So this is given in chapter 7 of the foreign trade policy. We also have deemed export defined in the GST law, which is pretty much the same, which is given in section 147 of the CGST Act. So there also, for the purpose of applying for refund, we need to go with the definition under the GST Act. But for the benefit under the foreign trade policy, we need to have the definition what is given in the foreign trade policy itself. The deemed export in foreign trade policy also includes certain transactions which are given in para 7.02 of the policy, which is basically nothing but certain supplies to the government, where they say that is also considered as deemed export for certain major projects. So those kind of things are given under point 7.02. Otherwise, it is mainly goods which don't leave India and which is against EPCG, EOU and advance authorization mainly. E-commerce, as I told you, we are targeting the $2 trillion target. So this service export as well as small manufacturers, small service providers, they can do only through e-commerce mode without much this one. Therefore, a separate chapter is given only for e-commerce export. FTP benefit is extended to e-commerce export. Separate chapter is done for promoting e-com business to provide a framework for cross-border trade. So a lot of changes are being done in the IT system to enable exports through e-commerce, and the value limit for courier service has been increased from 5 lakh to 10 lakh per consignment, and our postal services have been deployed into service so that they can also take part in this export through e-commerce, and we have the dark schemes which are there which you can export through postal also. E-commerce export hubs for favorable business infrastructure and facilities are being set up through public-private partnership, where they will have a hub wherein there will be e-commerce specific services that are being done for cross-border, for facilitating cross-border trade. This is all in pipeline. It's going to come slow over a period of time. So miscellaneous matters is given in the last chapter. Automatic system-based approval. So they are going to bring down the time limit for processing the applications for advance authorization EPCG. Earlier it used to take 3 months, 1 week to 3 months, but because of automatic rule-based approval systems, it is being proposed to reduce to 1 day. That's what they are saying, everything will be automatic. And rationalization of fees has been done for EPCG and AA with a reduced fee for MSME units, basically based on their turnover. And revamp of the e-certificate of origin platform has been done to provide certification of exports. Rationalization of composition fee for extension of advance authorization. So composition fee is usually collected when you don't comply with certain conditions under the license, like not providing an installation certificate within 6 months, or not completing exports, 50% of the exports within 4 years. So in such cases you need to give a composition fee, or when you are going for extension of the export obligation period under EPCG or advance authorization, you need to pay a composition fee. This composition fee has been rationalized quite a bit. And as for the Appendix 4H, you need to maintain a register of all the imported items under an authorization for a period of 3 years, and they may come for inspection. At that time you need to produce for the actual user condition and consumption. And the separate chapter, as I told you, is kept for special chemicals, organism, materials, equipment and technology which are used both for civil and other defense purposes. So separate chapter is introduced for that. Policy for dual use items, consolidated at one place for ease of understanding and compliance by industry. Government policy, India is a member of the export control regime and the export control in line with international commitments under the Wassenaar Agreement, Australia Group, Missile Technology Control Regime to control trade in this sensitive dual-use items have been implemented. So the rules and regulations that are internationally done is also introduced in our foreign trade policy to maintain parity. Focus on simplifying policies to facilitate export of dual-use high-end technology such as drones, UAV, cryogenic tanks, nuclear items, microorganisms, certain chemicals. They have simplified the policies at the same time and reduced the transaction time for these. Foreign trade of these items will be with specific license from the Department of Defense, Department of Atomic Energy. So depending on the item and that particular department will have to give a clearance, without which we cannot do the export. So we have now the amnesty scheme. So one-time amnesty scheme for authorization issued from 2009 to 14 till March 2015. Authorization issued under the prior policy, that is a 4-9 policy, but the validity was beyond 12th August 2013 only are eligible for the scheme, and application shall be filed using the EODC module of the DGFT website. The default can be regularized on payment of all customs duties exempted in proportion to the unfulfilled EO. Based on evidence of payment, EODC certificate will be issued. Reduced interest liability. Maximum interest is capped at 100% of the duty exempted. No interest on additional duty, countervailing duty and special additional duty. Only interest will have to be paid on the basic custom duty itself, and that is restricted to the duty amount itself, basic custom duty itself. Registration into the scheme is available up till 30th June 2023. Payment can be made by 30th September 2023. Cases already adjudicated, pending adjudication, original, appeal can also be regularized under the scheme. Cases under investigation for fraud, misdeclaration, unauthorized diversion of material and of capital goods are not eligible under the scheme. So basically, if it is for a fraud or suppression case, then it is not eligible for amnesty. There can be no availment of credit or refund of the amounts paid under this scheme. So this is about the amnesty scheme for EPCG and advance authorization holders. So methodology of computing when entire EO is not fulfilled, then or the average EO is partially fulfilled, entire duty is paid, is to be paid back, interest is capped to duty amount. When there is a shortfall in EO fulfillment, only proportionate amount of duty due to the unfulfilled obligation along with interest need to be paid back. Because of the issues faced recently on 23rd June, Department issued a policy circular number 2 where they created a new website called amnestyscheme.in where you can apply in a manual mode or the application and then file the physical papers with the department. This is when you are not able to find the bill of entry or the shipping bill in the DGFT portal for the old schemes. Amnesty scheme is also introduced under the GST laws. The GST Council in its 49th Council meeting held on 18 February recommended trade facilitation measures. One of them were the amnesty scheme, rationalization of late fee and filing of annual return. So the GST came into effect from 1st July 2017 and there has been over a period of 5 years and now our department has come up with this amnesty scheme. For late fee, for delayed filing of return under for composition scheme holders, GSTR 4 is mandatory. Where it is not filed for the period July 17 to March 22 and it is filed between 1st April 23 to 30th June, no late fee is payable, where the tax payable is nil and late fee is capped to 500 rupees. in other cases. So one may avail the scheme and file their annual return when you are under composition scheme. Similarly, for 9, the late fee is restricted to 10,000 CGST, 10,000 SGST, totally 20,000 rupees for the years 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20 up to 21, 22 if it is filed between 1st April to 30th June. Filing of final return in GST 10, supposing there has been a cancellation of registration or suo motu cancellation or otherwise, you are supposed to file the final return in GST 10. If the said return is filed between 1st April to 30th June, late fee is restricted to 1,000 rupees. That is 500 CGST, 500 SGST. So this is the amnesty scheme for final return. Application may be made for revocation of cancellation where cancellation is being done on or before 31st December due to non-filing of returns within the time period allowed, or appeal or application is also rejected for failure to adhere to the timelines prescribed, because 30 days is the time that is allowed for applying for revocation. So if it is applied within 30th June and after paying the taxes and the interest and also filing the returns up to the date of cancellation, then you may go for the amnesty scheme. No further extension will be allowed after this time period. So within which you can get your cancellation revoked and you can claim your input tax credit or whatever that is pending can be claimed. Procedure for assessment of non-filers of returns. When return is not furnished within 30 days of best judgment and best judgment notice is served on you or order is given to you, then the assessment will be withdrawn if you are furnishing a return on or before 30th June, along with payment of applicable interest under section 50 and late fees, irrespective of whether appeal has been filed and decided or not. You can go for this amnesty scheme and file your returns. In case you have not filed returns and has been subject to best judgment assessment. Then we move to certain recent notifications wherein we have just started with 1/2023 issued in January earlier this year, where they have made assistant director and service tax intelligence officer, audit officer also exercise power of superintendent. So your jurisdictional, so whatever powers your superintendent has, the same powers are given to the GST intelligence audit officers also of a particular category. So they can also exercise any of these powers which your jurisdictional officer has. And time limit for issuance of order when show cause notice is issued under section 73 to determine tax interest payable. The time limit is now 31st December 2023 for assessment year for financial year 17-18. 18-19 it is up to 31st March 2024, and for 19-20 it is 30th June 2024. Actually, the 3-year period is what is envisaged in 73. From 2017-18, 3 years is already passed. But because of COVID and because of all the extensions for the annual return that has been given during the initial years, your 17-18 3-year period is getting over only in 31st December. After 31st December also you can expect to get notice under 74 only and not under 73. But they have to prove that there has been evasion, suppression and willful to evade tax, willful intent to evade tax. Only for those cases they can issue notice under 17-18. After this period. So bank account validation is necessary in your GSTN login especially when you are going for refund. Refund will not get processed unless it is validated. You need to get your PAN and Aadhaar validated through the bank and it gets reflected in the GST portal. This is an advisory that has been given recently. And rationalization of GSTR 9. Currently it is 200 rupees per day and a maximum of 5% of turnover. But Now, for those who are having an aggregate turnover of 5 crore in the relevant financial year, it will be 50 per day only, subject to a maximum of 0.04%, that is 0.02% CGST, 0.02% SGST. And if your aggregate turnover is more than 5 crore up to 20 crore, it will be 100 per day, subject to a maximum of 0.04%. Only if your turnover is over 20 crore, it will be 200 per day. This is for filing your annual returns. To reiterate the deadline, it is 31st December, succeeding the end of the financial year for GSTR 9. E-invoicing now is mandatory for annual turnover with 5 crore and above from 1st August 2023. So e-invoicing is mandatory. For B2B transaction was first made compulsory. Initially we started with 500 crore and step by step it has been reduced and now it is being made to 5 crore. And all transaction will automatically flow into your GSTR 1, 3B, and so everything is getting automated. Then we have this special All India drive against fake registration. Special All India drive will be conducted through from 16th May 2023 with an object of detecting and eliminating fake dealers and fake billers. Detailed guidelines have been issued by Instruction 1/2023 dated May 4. The DGARM Intelligence Wing will identify GSTN for initiation of verification drive and will be shared with field formation for initiation of action. If upon verification, registration is found to be fictitious, department may initiate necessary action including blocking of credit. It is therefore necessary to be up to date with compliance and not to panic for inspection, but to extend cooperation and provide details when requested for. So now they will be visiting your premises whenever they find that your GSTN is identified as suspicious and it's been identified by the intelligence system of the DGARM. Then in such cases you have to cooperate with the department and it is going to be done till 15th July in order to eliminate all these fake registration whatever is there. Then there is one more order, that is instruction that has been issued recently with respect to automated return scrutiny module for GST return in the ACES GST application. So CBSE has rolled out automated return scrutiny module for GST return in the ACES GST application, which is an automated system, wherein again the intelligence, the SOP document is issued for this. That is number 2/2023 dated May 26, 2023. The online workflow of the scrutiny of returns will be that CBIC will issue, the GST application has been provided with the intelligence. They will find the list of GSTNs which will have to go through the scrutiny and it will be reflected in the dashboard of the jurisdictional officer. So those cases will be taken up for scrutiny and first the ASMT 10 will be issued and reply will have to be given in ASMT 11. If they are satisfied, they will give you an order in ASMT 12. If they are not satisfied, they will go for further proceedings, which may be audit under section 65 or inspection under section 67 or directly show cause notice under 73 also can be given. Selection of returns will be done by Directorate General of Analytics and Risk Management, that is a DGARM, based on various risk parameters identified by the analytics and will be shared with the field formation who will schedule the scrutiny of the returns with the approval of the Assistant and Deputy Commissioner. It is expected that scrutiny will be performed only on records available with the officer with minimum interface with the taxpayer. So it is that they don't want to disturb the day-to-day activities of the taxpayer, and it is expected that they go with the scrutiny of the returns only with returns filed and information available with the department in GSTR 1 and 3B, and therefore you need not entertain any questions with respect to the automated scrutiny module, and you just have to respond to their questions alone. You don't have to supply additional information because it is expected that it is with minimum interface with the taxpayer. The proper officer is required to scrutinize all returns pertaining to one financial year. And as per the instruction, it is for not 1 month, 2 months, it is for the whole financial year. And a single compiled notice in ASMT 10 may be issued to the registered person for that financial year. So this is with respect to automated scrutiny of returns. So there is no manual intervention or no manual drafting of the notice by the officer. It is an automated notice. The automated notice which is generated by the system itself, where they have defined the parameters on which transaction is liable to RCM or those kind of things you can expect to get. So any questions so far? I don't know, I rushed through the presentation. Or any questions, we can have a lot of discussion around any of these topics. Sir, can you?
Madam, this permission for remitting remittances is being received for exports in Indian rupees. What is the impact on the FEMA?
Yeah, actually they are saying that there is a Vostro account that you need to have, and the remittances will have to be through the Vostro account as given in the foreign trade policy under 2.52.
No, what I wanted to understand was, now the amounts will come in Indian rupees.
Correct.
What will be the impact on the foreign exchange position in respect of dollars or in respect of?
No, they will not have any exchange fluctuation, right? Because of the exchange fluctuations, there won't be any loss to the exporter, right?
No, not from the exporter angle, but from the country angle. For India, now the foreign exchange will come in Indian rupees.
Correct.
So forex reserves will not go up.
Yeah.
It will be coming in Indian rupees.
Correct, correct.
Now,
but more and more trade will happen in Indian rupees. That is good for the country itself, right? Because now the UPI payments are allowed for Singapore also. So they are promoting rupee trade overall.
No, will it result in the Indian rupee strengthening?
Yeah, definitely. I feel that because of promoting Indian rupee trade in the international market, definitely our rupee will also strengthen.
And going forward, at some point of time, possibly we may have to have the no controls on the exchange. That is what they call it free trade or not free trade. Maximum committee had said that to go for no controls on the foreign exchange transactions. Will it lead to that, or will this controls on the foreign exchange remittances continue?
No, actually, if we increase our exports itself, that means there is inflow more than that we need to ensure. The balance of trade should always be positive. Currently, it is not, because we are importing lot of oil and other things wherein our balance of trade is negative. We are importing more than we are exporting. The minute we start exporting more and our balance of trade become positive, rupee will naturally strengthen irrespective of whether we are realizing in Indian rupee or foreign currency. Is it not so? It's simple logic only. When we spend more than we earn, obviously we will be poorer by that time, that much. So we need to export more. Right now we are doing from right pocket to left pocket. That is, we are trading amongst ourselves. Whenever we are doing business within the countrymen, it is not going anything we are earning extra. It is only between the country, within the country. The government is earning a little bit of taxes because of these transactions. But overall the country will grow only when it improves its exports and balance of trade.
Will it ultimately lead to free convertibility? That's what I wanted to have in mind. Will it help in free convertibility?
Yes, I think. Yeah, it will definitely help in pre-conversion.
Right.
Any other questions?
One more, sir. This annual return, madam,
Yeah.
up to certain turnover, they are exempted to from filing the return. No? Annual
Yeah,
return.
yeah. Annual return is 2 crore. If your return is 2 crore, it is not mandatory to file GSTR 9. It's voluntary. You may file. You know, it is a GST annual return is only an opportunity where you can correct any errors, whatever is committed in your GSTR 1, 3B, and it's a facilitation measure for you to correct and give a reconciliation in GSTR 9C. Though GSTR 9C is mandatory for turnover above 5 crore, it is not even mandatory for 2 crore and above. It is left to you to even comply with 9 and 9C when it is below threshold. But if it is above, it is mandatory. You may get a notice from the department for complying with it, and it also comes with a general penalty of 25,000 plus 25,000, which is 50,000.
Yeah, in the table it's mentioned less than 5 crores. It is so much is a per day 50 rupees or something.
Yeah, because
But
GSTR 9 is about 2
They
crores.
should have said about 2 crores and below 5 crores.
Yeah, it should have been like that, but in the notification they have given below 5 crore, but it means it's 2 crore and above.
Ma'am, in all the amnesty scheme and everywhere, it talks about the GST 9 filing, 3B, 4 and 10 filings.
Correct.
But never we have seen the GST 9C filing, which can be leviable for general penalty, as you said right now.
Correct.
Like 25,000 plus 20,000.
25,000.
What would be the situation for this period, like 17 to 22? So, like, though we have not seen any notices so far for 9C late filing, but if obviously if I file GSTR 9 late, so 9C or obviously it would be late filing.
Yeah,
only,
correct.
right? So why there is no amnesty scheme or law is silent about
No,
that?
actually, it is a very small difference between 9 and 9C. It's 9, actually they have given 2 different returns. But when you say 9 and 9C, it's one return only according to B. But
Though
there is
we are not sure. Ma'am.
yeah, that's all. Because they are also, I have seen notices where the department is levying late fee for 9 and penalty for 9C. So both they are levying, but once you file 9, they should not levy the general penalty. But they are levying general penalty also.
So what would be our stand? Like, though we are filing in amnesty scheme,
Correct.
we'll pay out 20,000 maximum.
Correct.
But what about 9C?
We can fight it, I mean it is very litigatable. We should say that we have filed under amnesty scheme, and since 9 is already filed, there is no scope for levying general penalty of 25,000. But it's litigatable as he says.
Yes. Because the whole amnesty scheme is silent, and everywhere in law 9C the penalty would be directly for general penalty under section 125, I think.
Correct.
So it's going to be.
As of now, many notices have been issued for filing this 990 after issuing this amnesty scheme. But
Correct.
nowhere in the notice have specifically sought for an, they have not mentioned any of the late fee or anything for the 9C. They are just, and specifically even if the turnover is more than 5 crore also, in the notice they have specifically mentioned only file 9. They are not asking to file 9C also, some of the notices which we have seen.
Exactly. That's why people are filing. Like clients are rushing for filing within 30th June.
Yeah.
But they are not thinking about 9C at all.
Maybe they find only 9, not 9C.
Because 9C is anyway under penalty for them. But what we can litigate, ma'am? Like what would be our stand for
That when late fee is already levied for the amnesty, and under the amnesty or otherwise we have filed the annual return 9 and 9C under the amnesty and paid the late fees also. then there is no question of levying any penalty because there is no non-compliance. This 25,000 and 25,000 under section 125 is only a general penalty, where there is no specific penalty that has been mentioned anywhere for 9C, right? So that's why I feel that
But they can contend that the GST and 9 and 9C are different forms. You are uploading 2 times.
yeah. They could say that.
Like the levy penalty, GST are one separately, 3B separately.
Correct.
Then what we can litigate for this point?
Anyway, they have used the word up to 25,000. So it is the office does discretionary. You say that everything have discharged in 9. So there is no penalty or anything which you can levy. Additional liabilities, nothing is left out. I filed the 9 with all the corrections, whatever it is, and I paid the additional liability through DRC also. So 9C is a mere reconciliation I am finding it. And you have a discretion.
But they are not
That's what
giving any
you have a discretion up to
clarification.
25,000. They have not told that like you need minimum is 25,000. So up to 25,000, you make it to 5,000.
No, actually, if it is mere reconciliation, they could have removed 9C when the CA certification is not required.
Correct.
But they have kept it is like without CA certification.
Yeah, it's only a
So it means
certificate
there has some
statement.
validity for 9C, different than the 9.
So 9 and 9C are brought with a different intention. But
Exactly, that
at
they can
at the end
contend.
of the day, we consultant actually a little diverted. How they have interpreted when they given an explanation for removing certification in the council meeting, they told that around, say suppose 95% of the liability has been discharged at the time of filing 9 by self-declaring. Whereas 9C, whoever done the certification at that time, maximum 5% of the amount was collected. For example, at the time of filing the 9C for the year 1819 or 1920, say 1000 crores is collected as a part of additional liability, out of which 950 crores, like 95% amount is voluntary declared by the in 9 by the client. But who has done that 9?
We
It is
only
the
did.
we only. So we don't want to point out in 9C and everything will declare as a
Clients should
self-declaration.
be on the same
So that's
side.
how-
So we are declaring.
So finance minister has given the reason that 9C is nothing to do with. So that's why we want to scrap it. That is not only the reason, like many at the time election everything was coming, so the gimmick they did. But actually both are introduced with a different intentions. But we made it.
So what department can contend for this 9C penalty?
Ma'am, in one of your earlier slides, you have mentioned that there is a specific organization for exports of agri products going to their perishable nature.
Yeah.
Can you shed a little light on how that mechanism works?
For this called APIDA, it's a central agency under the Commerce Ministry, and they will have presence in every state where they will conduct outreach programs. They will have membership of all the agricultural exporters in that area, and they will help them by getting the certification, by finding exporters for market for their product. They might do exhibitions in foreign countries. For example, mango, which is grown in Karnataka. The agricultural APIDA may conduct exhibition in Singapore, Japan, and where they will go and display these products, find market, and help the small agricultural farmers to export them and make sure the quality certifications, whatever has to be done. The illiterate agriculturers will not know what compliances, what certification have to be done in order to reach it to the international market. It is not like selling to a local dealer. If it has to go to London for an end user, it has to be of a particular quality. And therefore APIDA comes in this role and acts as a bridge between the final end user and the agriculturist who is actually who's only growing these fruits and making sure the packing and everything so that they don't get damaged in the transit. So all these things, they need somebody in between to facilitate export. So this APIDA will come in between these two.
Let's say that
Well, let's say that the person who's purchasing the produce from the agriculturist, he is exporting, not the agriculturist himself. Can they also approach a PIDA?
Yes, definitely. They have to take a registration by paying a nominal fee. So they will become member of APIDA. And once you are member of APIDA, you will be involved in the, all the proceedings, like whatever is happening, sector-wise they will be doing, like supposing you are growing chili. Gadige chili is very famous in North Karnataka. So they will do meetings for this Gadige chili alone. Like that banana, Nanjangud Rasbale is special in Mysore. So they might do something specifically for that group of growers or who are marketing those products and making sure that their goods are exported with less damage and without much of inspection in customs. So all the trade facilitation kind of work APIDA will be doing.
And is there a specific website for them? Or
yeah, APIDA website is there. APIDA website is there, and even in Bangalore we have an office near MG Road where they do lot of trainings for these growers. I have been personally part of some of the trainings for these growers. I have visited Hubli, Dharwad and all, and I have helped growers of chilies which get exported in a large scale. But the exporters are in Bombay. They used to only give it to the exporters in Bombay. Now they are trying that they want to export themselves. So that margin which is lost in between through a middleman is not there. But they don't have the expertise to export it directly. Now this is an agency where they can approach this agency, be part of this organization and make their product directly to be exported without through any middle agency. So that also they are trying.
And what about the compliances, like in any trade, rather let alone international trade, there are a lot of compliances involved. So APIDA employs people to get the compliances done?
No, they will only educate you on what compliance need to be done, which agency to go, and those kind of facilitation they will do. But the actual compliance you only have to do. So I thought I can have more question answer session kind of discussion because foreign trade policy itself is very huge. So I only covered whatever changes had happened from the previous policy to this policy. I didn't cover each and every aspect because each chapter is very huge in its own this one.
For this APIDA, in contest with APIDA, like what is facilitating the traders or growers to export? Would they search for customers also outside the India?
Yeah, they will do. That is called Marketing Assistance Initiative. It's called a MII scheme where certain amount is allocated by the government under the Commerce Ministry, which is given for these growers to go and attend these foreign exhibitions. They are given the assistance to travel abroad and showcase their products. So that is done by the government of India.
Only up to the marketing of that products, but
Yeah.
the final end user
No, when you are conducting an exhibition, there are so many people who are approaching you, right? So through that you establish a connect and then you go back and start exporting. So they are holding lot of exhibitions. And there are so many notifications that are issued recently also for exporting of these products. For marketing assistance is going on.
Ma'am, you had also mentioned about apparel exports of excellence. So let us say that there is one exporter who is in Bengal who are exporting apparel or designer or whatever stage period. If they move their setup to these center of excellence, what additional benefit would they get?
So they will be under the TEE or what is called Town of Excellence, and they can make use of the common service providers who are also located in the same area, and whatever initiatives are done and by the government, they will all benefit because they are in the Town of Excellence, right? So the common service providers will give you at a subsidized rate rather than you get outside. When he is doing in a mass basis for job work, then you will get reduced prices in those. And plus they are eligible for a whole lot of schemes under EPCG. Common Service Provider also is eligible, and you are also within that area, so all the FTP schemes also will be applicable to you. You are given additional incentives also.
Overall, the cost will be reduced.
Yeah, cost will be definitely reduced.
Madam, this foreign trade policy, one of the points mentioned is that it's flexible for changes required as and when they are required.
Yeah, right.
Now, does it mean that if this keeps on changing, will it lead to some confusion with the people who are exporting?
No, I don't think so. Based on trade representations made through these councils like the APIDA, whenever there are some concerns, APIDA will take it up with the Commerce Ministry directly and request for a change. It will be deliberated and brought about as a notification. So we need to watch out for all these notifications and changes that are happening. Public notices are issued now and then. There is also an app which is developed by DGFT, where all notifications, it comes on your screen itself. So they will make only trade facilitation measures. They will not do anything, because now this policy is already aligned to the WTO and all incentives are already removed. It's only remission scheme. So I don't think they will do anything which is against trade or against export. We already have a very high target of $2 trillion export. So we need, everything will be for promoting export and not otherwise. You will see a change in the mentality of the DGFT officers and the commissioners also. They are more towards facilitation, and unlike our GST department, they are more friendlier and they try to help the exporting community. There is a difference in the way they are dealt by the DGFT and the commercial tax department. It is for more of a facilitation agency for exports.
But based on the international prices, many times there is restrictions on exports of certain items, restrictions on the quantity that can be exported.
Correct.
All this will bring in some sort of restrictions on the total exports of the country.
Yeah, that is more seasonal to do with the onion prices or some vegetables. They usually like sugar, or when the country itself needs, like during pandemic, we were not allowing export of certain masks and other things because our country itself needs it. So that time they put a restriction so that we don't have to import it again. We export everything and then for our own requirements we end up importing. That will be a very bad planning, right? We should be self-sufficient first, then only we can export. If we ourselves are having shortage, then those times government has to pitch in and they have to put a restriction to the exports so that country's demand is met first, is it not?
And are these connected to somewhere else? In any way connected with the quality of the items exported?
No, quality control is separately. There is every check has to be done before exporting. There are certain certification agencies, and if you have to have your product in the international market, you need to have certain set of this one control. Otherwise, you will be able to export once, and that will be the end of the export, right?
Recently, there was some case of some medicine being exported to Africa. It was returned, or it was harmful for the patients for having consumed it.
So that's why the Commerce Ministry also will take this into consideration, and the trade disputes portal is there where they can lodge complaint against these exporters on the portal, and they will do dispute settlement through those agencies.
So that happens post the occurrence of the...
Yeah. So basically, in domestic market or international market, it is up to the supplier who is supplying the goods to maintain the quality. Because government can't come and check each and every consignment whether it's good or not, right? That is not practically possible. So it is left to the supplier who supplies it and the buyer who buys it. It's a free trade market, basically.
Now because one of the new free trade agreements that have been signed,
Yeah.
does it mean that there are no export customs duty in those countries? Like
Those
Korea,
countries, they
Japan?
have preferential agreements, they have agreements for certain goods. Supposing in India, we are doing very well with the manufacture of say mobile phones. So they will say that when we export mobile phones, you can we will sell it without any duty, or we'll give it at duty free rate or some such thing, some such arrangement. Similarly, from their country, if we are importing some goods, they will say that we are removing the duty for those goods. Like we have with UAE. Supposing we import certain goods from UAE, we will say that we will not charge any duty for those. We will waive off the duties, so that their product becomes cheaper and we import only from UAE, those goods. So like that, it's a mutual understanding between India and UAE alone.
FTAs are only for limited items, not
Limited items
not all
only
items.
for specific countries, between specific
Yeah, that
countries.
is okay. So this country is okay. But from those countries, only limited items.
Only limited items, whatever is there in that agreement. Those agreements are posted in the DGFT, in the Commerce Ministry of Commerce website. Every agreement, whatever is signed, is posted. Before importing, you need to check those agreements and see whether any of your products fall in those, and you need to quote that relevant notification agreement and import under that.
I think we had similar one with Sri Lanka,
Yes,
if I remember correctly, like some fabric if we are importing from Sri Lanka.
correct, correct.
Yeah, Sri Lanka was mentioned in that list.
Yeah.
Sri Lanka, Japan. and-
Sri Lanka, then what happens like, but there are so many conditions. They said it has to come to Chennai port only.
Correct.
You cannot bring it directly to Bangalore or something like that. With SAARC countries, some FTA was there in between. So that time it was there. Then that is also very specific on clothes or headgear like cap and stuff like that. They made it very clear. Like everything is not allowed. Like and if we are exporting also, they made it very clear like it has to be interlining, which is used for the manufacture of garments. So it should be manufactured in India and it should be sent to, you can, Sri Lankan can import it without paying the duty. And Sri Lanka got this GST system long back.
Right.
So their PLO register, everything was there, they get all the benefit. So I am talking about 5-6 years back, whatever is happening.
Correct.
So that was there, FTP was there. So a lot of people try to misuse that. That is why it became a lot of problem, like bringing things which are not declared or misdeclaration. Like interlining, when you export interlining there are specific parameters, but instead of that they send some clause saying that it is interlining, like that. So now it is more streamlined because with the HSN code coming into place, everything is in order, I think.
So instead of going for this incentives and remission of duties, it's government is trying to have bilateral agreement with many countries, so that our product is sold at a competitive price in their country because they don't charge duty. Similarly, we extend such benefits for those goods for which we require in India. So we say that those goods when we import from you, we will not charge any duty, so that there is a mutual understanding and promotion of trade between two countries, where we get market for our product and they get market for their products in India. So India being a very large market, definitely we can have lot of free trade agreements with a number of countries. So that is why we are into a lot of these bilateral talks, and the G20 is also happening right now. It will be over a period of time, where a lot of people are coming, even for tourism or whatever industry, they can do trade with India. In terms of service as well as goods, this is a very good platform for them also to extend relationship. Any other questions, or no? I completed before time, Manjuna.
by sharpening our skills such that we, the practicing chartered accountants, can take up any challenges which are coming up for us with confidence, and we can handle the situation easily. A rare area of practice which is well dwelt upon by CA Sowmya madam. A round of applause for that. On behalf of members present here and managing committee members of Bangalore branch of SISF ICI, we would like to hand over a memento to the speaker as a token of gratitude and respect. Can I request CA Chirag Bajaj to come out to the desk and then hand over a memento to the speaker. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. And with that, I, CA Manjunath Mandur, Secretary for Bangalore branch, sign off for the day.